honestly don't even know how you're supposed to hold a pen in your left hand, so this is gonna turn out really great. Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and welcome back for my weekly plan with me video. In today's video, I'm going to be setting up for week 32, which is the 5th through to the 11th of August. But as per usual, before we jump into that, we're going to have a look at how this week is going. So as you'll remember from my last weekly plan with me video, for that one I was recreating an old weekly spread. So I jumped back into my first bullet journal and had a look at the spreads I had there and came up with this layout. So we had a section for each day of the week in terms of my events. We had this folded Dutch door section for my running task list, a notes and to-do section here, and then my timetable as well. I'm not gonna lie, I have been absolutely loving this layout. I completely understand why I used it so much in my first journal, because it just gives me so much room to write down everything that I need to get done, and I really genuinely feel like this has been one of my most productive weeks in a long time. That being said, it has been the first week of school, so I have been very busy, and I am extremely tired. But it's been great that my bullet journal has worked so well for me this week. As you may remember, my challenge for week 32 is to do a spread using my non-preferred hand, and that would be my left. I'd love to know though, are you guys left-handed or right-handed when it comes to writing? There's a poll up in the corner, and although I know that most people are right-handed, I feel like I've been finding a surprising number of bullet journalists who are left-handed, so I'd be interested to see what the breakdown is. As usual, all of the equipment that I use in today's setup will be linked in the description box below, but let's jump into it. So you'll see that I have already put some faint pencil marks in just so that I kind of knew what I was going for with this weekly layout, but from here on out I will be using my left hand. I will be using my right hand to secure my book like I usually do with my left hand, but all of the line work that I do for this spread and the writing for any of the headers is going to be using my left. Now when it comes to holding a pen, I like to rest mine on my, I don't even know, is that like the right hand ring finger? I like to rest it on this one, so I end up with this kind of like munched up grip of all of my fingers here together. I know that a lot of people I think write like that. I didn't learn it that way, so this is how I like to write. But I don't think that translates well to holding my pen in my left hand. So I'm not too sure how this is gonna work, but I'm gonna give this a go, and if that doesn't work out, I'll try that one. Yeah. Jumping into today's questions, first up we have Gaia L, who asked, why does Purani always ask your questions? I thought this was kind of funny because Purani's awesomely consistent with asking me questions, but then on last week's video they didn't ask me a question. I hope you're okay and nothing's happened. To answer your question though, Gaia, I would have to say that it's probably because Purani is an awesomely inquisitive individual. I do appreciate the people that I deem to be serial questionnaires, mostly because it's really nice to know that week after week people are coming back to check out my content. For the footage we have here, this is at 2 times regular speed, so you can see I was trying to take my time with these lines to make them relatively straight. God, this hurts. I've already started putting like a major dent in this finger. On this one, obviously it's kind of trained to that, so I have this little ridge here, but this one does not have that, obviously. I'm also finding it really difficult to get the right amount of pressure. Okay, like, so I hold it like this, and I go like that. So if I hold it like this, I need to go like okay. I'm shaking so bad. Oh God, do I want that dot there? Yes, okay, I do. Would I normally draw a line there? Yeah, I would, but no. Nope. I'm gonna turn the book around. Our next question comes from Elizabeth G, who asked, when you miss days in your journal, do you go back and fill them in? So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends on how many days I missed and also what I missed them for. If I've missed them because I've been sick, sometimes I'll just write a note that I was sick. If I've missed them because I've been lazy, usually I'm too lazy to go back and fill them in. It also depends on what pages in particular we're talking about. If we're thinking about things like my steps and habits trackers, I will go back and retrospectively fill those in based on what I can remember doing or not doing. Things like my 2 lines a day spread, if I can remember what happened, I'll fill it in, but sometimes I'll just write, I don't know what happened on this day. For the most part, I do try to take the pressure off myself to fill it in, mostly because forcing myself to fill in pages that I really just don't want to makes me feel like I'm not using my journal the way I want to. So far it's looking okay-ish. I feel like I should really... Okay, I'm gonna try with my hand grip. Not on this finger, on my middle finger. So pen rests there, and then that curls around. Oh my god, I didn't even draw a line there. Jeez, alright. So this is going well. There we go. So my scaffold is drawn up now, mostly. I've got my right-hand page for the running to-do list, and then the sections over here for each day of the week and notes. I need to go put in some headers, and I think I want to divide off the top 2 rows, just like I've done here, so that I have a section for that. So I'm going to go put some more lines in first. This way. Alrighty, time to add some colour. First I'm going to go and erase that, and again I have to use my left hand, so holding my eraser in my left hand. There we go. Cool. And everywhere else is pretty okay, we'll put that one there. I think this coming week I'm going to use this colour, which is 373, to colour in my headers. Okay. What's the best way to colour this in? So usually when I colour these in, I'd go up and down from the left to the right. So maybe I'll try and do that from the right to the left. Our next question comes from Foxling Emeralda, who asked, what's a good spread for a teen going into 8th grade? So I have done a previous video on spreads for high school students that might be helpful. Link to that one in the cards above. But something that might be helpful that I don't know if I had in that video would be a study or productivity tracker. I always tell my students that a little bit a lot is much better than a lot in a little. And what I mean by this is that if you break your study or learning down into small and manageable chunks and try and accomplish them over a longer period of time, you're going to be way more successful in being able to learn things and prepare for assessments in the long run. Especially when you compare that to trying to fit an entire semester's worth of content into a couple of days before your assessment is due. Which is really just unnecessary stress for yourself, and it doesn't really end up giving you the best results. Setting yourself up something like a study or productivity tracker can help you build the habit of doing a little bit of revision every day, so that then you don't get to the end of a semester with your exams or tests approaching, feeling like you haven't started doing anything to prepare for them. Building those habits while you're in 8th grade, rather than waiting till 9th or later. I have so many students who get to their final or second to final year of high school who, because they haven't taken the time to build these revision routines, they don't know what techniques work well for them and what don't. You don't want to use the couple of weeks in the lead up to your assessments to figure those out, so get started with them as soon as you can. Our next question comes from Physique Quantique, and that's an awesome name, might I add. And I'm going to read their entire comment because I feel like it just adds context. They say, my sense is that everyone's extra threshold is different. There were spreads that Elizabeth skipped over in her video that I personally considered extra, but then some people consider using a ruler in your journal to be extra. Your style is similar to mine, so I don't consider your spreads to be extra overall. But I could see how people who are really minimalistic in their journals would have a different opinion. So, for a question, what's your extra threshold? Are there techniques or styles of bullet journaling that you consider extra? So this one in particular is making reference to my question for you guys last week, which was whether you guys thought that my spreads were extra or not, because I'd been featured in Plant-Based Bride's video with her reacting to extra spreads on Instagram, and one of mine came up. I think it's kind of hard to define my extra threshold though. I'm pretty much down for trying most techniques in my journal, but I really think that when it comes to defining an extra spread for me, it's just one that was really time consuming to set up. The weekly spreads that I set up for myself usually take somewhere between 20 minutes to an hour kind of a thing. So I think that if I was spending an hour, possibly more than like an hour and a half on an individual spread, I'd probably think of that as being a little bit extra. A technique in particular though that I think is a little bit extra are the decorative Dutch doors that seem to be quite popular in some spaces of our bullet journaling community. I know that they end up looking really gorgeous and can also look quite minimalistic, but I think it's just the fiddliness of having to work your scissors around a non-straight edge that kind of makes the technique seem a little bit extra for me. I'm a big fan of extra spreads though. Really, I'm just a big advocate for your journal being yours and yours alone, doing what feels right for you. For me, I know that I feel best about my journal when I'm using it as a productivity tool. So regardless of whether I have decoration or not, if I'm getting things done and feeling productive, then my journal makes me happy. I do also like it to look nice though, so I do like some decoration. Do I need to spend hours and hours setting up individual spreads? No. But sometimes I might feel like doing that because I want to branch out a little bit. I feel like I've gotten off track. Let's move on. And for my complementary color, I'm going in with 685. I almost feel like I'd have more success with this pen just holding it in my fist. Time for some lettering. Not this hand, but I'm going to be going in and trying to do cursive for each of my headers. I already know this isn't going to turn out well, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Now I know that left-handed people have issues with smearing, so I'm hoping that that doesn't happen for me. I mean, I'm probably not going to be writing fast enough for that to be an issue, but something to be aware of. Our last question comes from Daphne, who asked, what does a typical day for you look like when you're on a break from teaching? Depending on which break we're talking about, and at what point in the break I'm on. So for instance, summer holidays is going to look a little bit different for me compared to just regular term breaks. If we're going for a productive day, then typically I'll try and get up sometime before 9 AM. I'll normally bring myself straight upstairs to my study, get through a couple of major tasks on my holiday checklist, things like making slides, or if I have marking to do, then it would be that. Sometimes planning new units, depending on what I've got coming up. Normally that'll last me some time until the early to mid-afternoon, at which point I'll realize I'm actually really hungry and I'll take myself down to the kitchen to get some breakfast, even though it'll usually be something like 2 PM. With that, I'll probably come straight back up to my office with my cereal or toast or whatever I've got, watch some YouTube while I eat that, and then I'll probably jump back into doing some more of those holiday tasks. I know that one type of video people in our community make are things like those, a productive day in the life of me, or a not so productive day in the life of me style things. If you guys would be curious in seeing one of those, I wouldn't be opposed to putting something like that together. So let me know in the comments below if that'd be something that you'd like to see. Alrighty team, so here we have my non-preferred hand weekly. I noticed that I thought I wasn't actually applying that much pressure with my pens, but the ridging on this side really does suggest otherwise. It feels like I've made trenches in my paper, but I couldn't even get this one here to give me a nice consistent even black line, so bit of a bummer there, but oh well. As usual, I'm now going to go in and add all of the events that I have coming up for next week, and as I've done in my previous weekly videos, I'm going to be opting in for the regular way that I write these, so S-size pit artist pen in my usual hand. Technically speaking, I did actually have another question that was left on last week's video, so Marloes, please don't think that I didn't see it, but I thought for that one in particular, I'd like to give it a more in-detail answer, so I'm gonna leave it till next week's video. The question I'd like to leave with you guys today though is a throwback to Physique Quantique's question. When it comes to journaling, what is your extra threshold? Are there any techniques or styles that you consider to be extra? I'd be curious to know your thoughts. As always, thank you for watching, and if you liked today's video, feel free to go check out another one. Until next time, bye!